So in this video, I'm going to talk about the timeline within Microsoft Dynamics 365 for Sales. And this is very much a sort of beginner's guide to it. And I don't think the timeline interface is that intuitive. So I think it's potentially helpful to go through it. Let's go into the system. I'll show you what I mean. So this applies to any record type which has a timeline, and any record type can have a timeline. It may not necessarily be given one, but a lot of records do. But probably the most common one we're going to be using is contacts. So I'm in the contacts area here. I'm specifically in a test record at the moment. And you can see in the center here, I've got this area called timeline. So let's talk about what this is. I mean, in overview, this is kind of the heart of our CRM system. You know, the history of CRM systems began with contact management, and contact management was about being able to store information about prospects and customers and our activities with them. You know, when we last contacted them, what we talked about, when we're next going to contact them. That's very much the heart of contact management. And, you know, it's a key function of CRM systems. So that's what's encapsulated in our timeline here. So if we go and look at this, let's go and have a look at the various menu items. So here we've got timeline. Let's go across the top here. So I've got a plus. Now these allow me to add new things. So specifically on the activity front, I can add an appointment, that's a meeting. I can add an email and send an email from the system. I can add a phone call record. I can add a task. I would probably not even think about all the other things that are listed below, because virtually never going to use these. The key things you need to think about: appointments, emails, phone calls, tasks, and notes. And we'll talk about those separately. So that's we'll do some adding in a bit, but let me skip, this is bookmarks. Let me skip bookmarks for a second. Now the next thing I've got is filters. So I've got a list of all my activities, both completed and closed. So await, active, in other words, is something we've got scheduled but we haven't got completed. Closed, it's done and dusted, we've done it, completed it. Now, what I've got here is the ability to filter that. So if I just click on the filters, you can see I've got some options. So I can filter by record types. It's telling me how many I've got of those. So I could filter that down if I wanted to. I can filter by activity type. So record type, activity type, activity status, are they open or closed? Activity status reason, which is kind of a nuanced version of that. I've got an activity due date, and I've got a modified date. So I've got various different options. So let's say I wanted to filter it down by the due date being the next 30 days, and there's only one record there. It's filtered that down for me. Now, if I wanted to, that's where the bookmark comes in. If I wanted to bookmark it, I could just go to the bookmarks area here. And I've already got one here, but I could add a bookmark. I could say open activities. And it will save what the filter is that I've got open here. So, you know, I should go back to it at any stage. I've got that, got it bookmarked. So I've got one for appointments, and now I've got one for open activities. Now I'm going to just click on that and get rid of the filters on it, and just X out of that. So now the next thing we've got is we've got this ability to expand all records. So if I click on that, that just expands out those record types. So what was showing before was just a summary few lines. This expanded out, so I see more of the detail there. If I want to close it back up, I can just change that. I've got a refresh timeline, so if I was working on this record, but I know somebody else was, or potentially in contact with them, creating activities for them that hadn't showed because I hadn't refreshed the page, that just gives me the ability to do a quick refresh. And then I've got the 3 dots at the end here. So I can do, I've got a number of different options: sort newer to older, older to newer. I can show email as a conversation, kind of like you can within Outlook itself, or as individual messages. And then I've got some options on my display layout, and I'm in a cozy one at the moment, but if I click on that, I can make that roomy, and it just sort of expands that all out a bit and just makes it look a bit more spaced out. I'm going to go back to my cozy because I quite like that one. So that is the top menu. Now let's go back to the individual records, because I've got some more little icons we might want to be aware of. So within these, for example, I've got the area here, a little down arrow, which just lets me open things up a little bit more. So if I just click on that, that just expands things out. If there is more to show there. And within each of those, I've got some little icons, and it depends on the different activity types and the status of them in terms of what I'm able to do, also in terms of what my security rights are. So for each of these, for example, I've got an appointment here, I could assign it to somebody else. I could add it to a queue. We've talked about queues recently. I could open the record itself and go into it. So I click on that, I see that record in more detail. And if I've got the rights, I could delete it. So I've got some different options. Here I've got a phone activity that is active, and I'll talk about active and closed in a second. And I've got a little tick box that allows me to close that activity as completed. So you've got some little, if you just dwell on that, you've got some little icons that give you some options in terms of what you can do with that record. So for example, I've got a note here. It's also going to allow me to edit that note. Now, if I look at my activities themselves, they're listed so I can see the different activity types. I've got an email, I've got an appointment, I've got an email, I've got a phone call, and I've also got a little area, a little sort of button here that tells me the status on them. Closed. It means, it's done, dusted, don't need to worry about that. It's not an open activity. But, others may be active. In this case, these are emails I haven't actually sent. This one's a scheduled phone call which I haven't completed, and I've probably got an appointment somewhere. No, I'll close my appointment. So just keep an eye out on those active and close. That tells you the status of those records. Now I'm going to go in and just show how you can create the various different activity types. Before I do that, just like to say, if you are a Dynamics user and you feel you're not getting as much out of it as you'd like to, and you want some guidance on potential next steps, then feel very free to reach out. I'll put some links below in the description. Always happy to have a chat with people about their particular circumstances and see if we can help. So let's go back into our timeline. So we kind of navigated our way around the timeline, but what I can also do is create some records. So let's go through the various different options we've got of creating records. So if we go to plus, let's do the first one as an appointment. Let's say I want to set a meeting up next week, and I want to put that, onto my the timeline for this particular contact. It will also be reflected in my broader activities area, which is over here. But let's do that. If I click on that, I get this quick view. I can give it a subject. We're going to call it test, and I can schedule it for a particular date. I'm going to schedule it for the 11th of February, and it's giving me a time, and I'll accept those times, and I can put some notes in there as well. So that's my appointment. It's for Bob Smith. It's with me. It's a test, and we've got a scheduled time for that. So if I now save and close that, that will create that activity, and you can see there it is. That's appearing there as an open activity. Now the next thing I could do is go to my plus. I could create an email, and literally what I can do here is send an email from the system, and that will go to me because it's my email address that happens to be on this particular contact record. And we'll just say this is a test, and I can save that. And when I send that, that will send it, and that will go appear in your sent folder within your Outlook. and that will now go, and because that's been sent, that comes across as a closed email activity. The next one we could do is a phone call. So I could now schedule a phone call, let's say follow up, and again I can give that a due date, so I might put that in for the 24th. I can put any notes in there if I wish to, and I can now save and close that. So that's gone in there, so we can see that's active, it's phone call. It's not complete, so once we've had that phone call, we can update the notes and then set it to complete. I've got that ability to do that from within this closed activity, or I can open up the activity and work on it from there. And then the final key activity type is a task. So this is a to-do, if you like. So did I click on that? Yep, so I did. So I can just give that a due date. Let's say we'll move that down to March, of 10th of March, and I can give that a time as well. I can give that a description, give it a subject. Let's say that's going to just be a test task. So we can now save and close it. So I've now created and sent an email, I've scheduled an appointment, I've scheduled a task, I've scheduled a phone follow-up. I can keep this updated once they're completed and add any notes from them, and I'm doing, I'm building up my history. The other thing I can do here finally is I can create a note. Now a note really is just, almost a memo to myself or to colleagues that are sort of browsing this record. It's not actually an activity as such. There's a couple of places I can do it. I can either do it from within here, because you get this create note that appears at the top, or I can just click on add new note. It's exactly the same thing. I can give this a title, call this test note, let's call that test, and I've now got that, add note and close it. So I've got some options to that. I can actually attach a file to that, by the way, so that can be quite a powerful feature. I'm not going to do that in this particular case. I'm just going to add note and close it. So also within the notes area, I've also got the ability to pin it so it appears at the top of the timeline. So if there was something I just wanted everybody's attention, to get everybody's attention for this particular contact before they went too far with it, and I just wanted it to be the first thing they see, I might want to use that pin function. Anyway, that's a sort of run through the timeline. I say I don't think as an interface it's massively intuitive. I think a lot of people like it. There is kind of a simpler, old school way of showing your activities. I'm going to do that in a separate video, and I will put a link to that below. But I say really powerful once you get up to speed with it, but it just takes a little bit of working out to sort of fully understand some of the intricacies of the interface. Anyway, hopefully that's been helpful. This is quite one in quite a large range of videos we've done on Dynamics 365 for Sales, so feel free to check out the rest of the channel. I would say if you need any help with Dynamics, there's a link for that below. If you've got any content ideas, feel free to just comment and let me know on that. But thanks very much for your time today, and hopefully see you again soon.